Thank you, Juan. So I'm Jesse Venbrux and a game designer at Q Games. I'm going to talk about They Need to Be Fed, which is a mobile game I developed last year. But I'm actually giving two presentations today. So one of them is about this game, They Need to Be Fed, and the second one, we're going to show a new social network title we're working on at Q Games. So let's start with They Need to Be Fed. I'll show a trailer of the game. We had some technical problems, and the resolution is really low, but it's working. So. So have you played They Need to Be Fed? So anyone that has played They Need to Be Fed, I'd like to see hands. Okay, there's a couple people there, not many, so I hope the video you just saw gave an impression of the kind of game it is. They Need to Be Fed is out on the iOS and on Android. It's actually featured this week on Android, so you can find it really easily. And it's only $1, so feel free to download it right now. It's pretty good. So yeah, before I go further into the game, I'd like to talk about who I am. So I made a bunch of small 2D computer games, and kind of became a hobby for me. One of these was Karoshi, which was well known among the independent scene. And this is a game in which you have to find a way to kill the main character on every screen. So it's kind of like a standard 2D platformer, but instead of trying to survive, you have to find a way to kill yourself. So this is the first level, and it's really easy. But what's funny is that people will actually jump over the spikes and try and find something over here on the screen, or think there's a next screen or something. So you have to really think in different ways to complete stages. These games, the games I made, and also They Need to Be Fed, are made with Game Maker, which is a really flexible tool for quick, rapid prototyping, and really recommend it if you want to focus on the game design more so than the programming side of the games. So I was making these small games for myself, and it was pretty fun, and I figured I wanted to do more with this. So I went to the Utrecht School of the Arts, where I studied game design and development in the Netherlands. I'm born in the Netherlands. And yeah, so this is cheese. It's very delicious. So as part of the study, I did an internship at Q Games in 2008 in Japan. And then the next year, I studied at Kyoto Seika University, where they had a course about, which was called Digital Creation, but did all sorts of digital artsy stuff, and made an iPhone game there as well. Then I graduated and went to Yo-Yo Games in Scotland. And this is where I developed They Need to Be Fed. So Yo-Yo Games are the developer of the Game Maker software. And I worked together with them to get their Game Maker games working on mobile platforms. The food wasn't very good, however, so I went back to Japan at Q Games since this year. And that's where I'll be working for a while now, so that's about me. Let's talk about the game. The design process. So the inspiration was Super Mario Galaxy. I really liked the gravity mechanic they had in the game. And I particularly liked the simpler sections of the game, actually, where it was either side views or top-down. And I wanted to do something with this 360-degree gravity mechanic. So a couple years ago, the first game I made with this idea, actually, was called Frozen. And this was a pretty cool game, but my goal was to get a 2D platformer game working with this gravity mechanic. And with this game, it was working, but it was kind of the whole gravity. My programming wasn't very good, and it was kind of finicky. So it turned more into a kind of strategy game with these little orange characters, kind of similar to Pikmin. Then I tried again later on with Maru. Maru means circle in Japanese, and this was getting closer to a real 2D platformer with the gravity mechanic, but it was kind of a weird game, sort of artsy-fartsy, and didn't have the success I hoped for. After that, I started working on They Need to Be Fed. So with They Need to Be Fed, I only had 1 week actually to develop the game because I wanted to enter it into a competition at Yo-Yo Games. So I was really, I really didn't have much time to experiment and had to really be focused on the core gameplay. And I think this time limit made me focus and develop a good core game. So some of the design lessons I learned here are to keep it simple. But I think this is really important, and you should always keep this in mind, even more so than you may think. But we heard this a lot, and I heard this a lot, but what does it really mean, and how can we really implement this lesson? So for me, it meant to not be creative. So with the previous game, so for example with Frozen and Maru, I had these really cool weird shapes and like star-shaped planets, and it was basically saying, look how creative I am, and look how cool my engine is, and it works all perfectly. And but in the end, with They Need to Be Fed, I started using these much simpler shapes, and it worked a lot better and was focused and fun. And I think because the gravity mechanic is the core and is already quite complex in itself. So using these simpler shapes, these simpler objects, really let the player focus on the gravity mechanic instead of these strange doodles. And another thing with, for example, Maru, I tried to have this kind of aesthetic with weird art and some sort of backstory as well. But in the end, I should have focused my time, I think, on the core gravity mechanic gameplay. But I guess what I'm saying is to not be creative for the sake of being creative, but it's okay to use creativity where it matters. So using creative solutions is always a good thing, of course. So one of the last-minute decisions I made actually is to turn the flag at the end of a level, which was like the goal of the level, into a monster. So somehow my games end up about being about killing yourself, but it doesn't mean I have a tendency to kill myself, actually. So this actually gave me the idea for the title as well, because I wasn't sure what to call the game, and I wanted to give the game a kind of an edge and something that people can remember. So before I was thinking of calling it something like Gravity World or something, but that's really generic, of course. So I think They Need to Be Fed is an original and kind of different name. Another creative solution I had to make was the visual style. because I'm not really a graphical artist, and so I had to go for something simple. So at first I was thinking of a silhouette style similar to Limbo. This has been done a lot already, of course. So I figured, okay, so instead of just using black, I added white, and for the rest, I used just these really simple and colorful background patterns, and together I think it looks really clean and nice. The shapes are really simple as well, and visually they portray their function pretty well, I think. So, for example, the first object is a square and has these 4 circles in it, and it means that it can't move, so it's stuck. It's like it's stuck to the wall, and it's just static. The second one doesn't have anything. Actually, if you jump on it, it starts swinging around a little bit. And the third one, you can tell it's stuck in the middle, but it can still rotate. And actually, when you jump on it, it starts rotating. And the fourth and fifth have these double circles, which actually means that they rotate automatically. So with these really, really simple visuals, I think I could portray the function of the shapes in the game well to the player. And can you guess what the fifth one is? So the fifth one rotates as well, but it stops every 90 degrees. That's why I put the line there, so you can see that it stops at these 90-degree angles. Yeah, so the lesson for me was to really focus on the player and don't focus on my own creativity, but yeah, build the game not around me, but around the player. So this session is titled Creating Addictive Gameplay. So apparently my game is pretty addictive, and I'm going to go into what I think makes the game addictive. So the game has really short levels, and lots of levels, but really short levels with many checkpoints in between as well. So even if you don't make it somewhere, you can always try again really quickly. And the retry is instant as well, so there's no loading time there. The goals are clear. The next world is always close to unlock. The controls are very smooth, and what I think is interesting is that this gravity mechanic actually allows for smoother controls on iPhone than some of the other 2D platformers I've seen. So initially I thought it was going to be, wasn't going to work as well. But in the end, I think it works well because, well, I've listed the reasons here, but for example, in a 2D platformer, you have walls, and you can walk against them, and of course, this is a really essential part of the regular 2D platformer, but it's kind of annoying, like to walk against the wall, and then, but you wanna, like, if it stops you, it can be annoying. So in this game, you can actually keep on walking forever because you'll just walk in circles. And of course, you can't fall off either. You'll always be pulled back. So in a way, this gameplay makes for a smoother experience. Other than that, I think the visual style is pretty clean and slick, and the audio really helps as well, the music and the sound effects. But together, it feels good to like play through the game. But the most important thing is the fun core gameplay mechanic. I think just running and jumping in this gravity world is pretty fun by itself, and the rest is just building that out and putting mechanics that fit in the game and presenting these to the player step by step. So, in short, short levels, instant retry, clear goals, smooth controls, and a satisfactory visual and audio experience. But above all, fun core gameplay is really important. And I think, of course, there are many different ways to design addictive games. I think this really applies well to skill-based mobile games in general. So how to create addictive gameplay? I think you just need one idea and feed it to the player in little delicious bite-sized chunks. Make sure they have kind of a familiar taste, but feel fresh as well. So basically, what I'm saying is start with one core idea and build several mechanics around that work well with your idea. And use these in creative ways. What's even better maybe is to let the player discover themselves the creative ways they can use your mechanics in. And then after that, it's just a lot of balancing and play testing. So that's about the game. So for the future, I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Who here is interested in HTML5? Can I see hands? Some people? Okay, so I'm going to try and show the game in HTML5, but because of the small resolution, I'm having trouble finding the game. So, okay. Stop this for a second. Okay. So this is the game running in the browser, and it's the same code as the iPhone version, so no optimization done here. And it's still a work in progress, but it's working pretty well and running at 60 frames per second. And my programming isn't very good actually, so it could probably be optimized a lot more as well. So this is something the people at Game Maker at YoYo Games have been working on to get their games running in HTML5. And I think it's working pretty smooth. So I think it's going to be exciting to see more small and independent games coming to the browser this way. Okay. Well, I haven't personally worked on the HTML5 version, but thank you. So this is being developed at YoYo Games in Scotland, where they are working on getting Game Maker to work on all these platforms and now HTML5 as well. So that's Game Maker. Some other things they're working on at YoYo Games are new worlds for They Need to Be Fed. So if you have the game, you can look forward to a couple new worlds coming in about a month, I think, or at least several weeks. So one of these is this world called Bubble World. We have these bubble shapes, which if you jump on them, they start moving upwards, and they kind of pulse as well. And when you jump off them, or I mean, you have to jump off them before they explode. So it's kind of a fun mechanic, which is really vertical. So the levels here really go up, up, up. It's pretty fun. Another world where we are using these custom line shapes, and we have lots of different lines in different levels where you have to walk. Yeah, you can use them to walk on them, and there is stuff moving on them as well. It's pretty fun. And what's interesting here is that we started again to be too creative actually with designs, because we can use any path we want. So we started using really crazy paths, but in the end, the simple stuff works the best. And another one has these shapes which start shrinking when you jump on them. But then, after a second, they quickly expand and they shoot you into the direction you're facing, which is pretty fun as well. So this is really fast-paced world where you are like flying from one planet to the other. And there's going to be another world, but we are not ready to show that yet. So I hope you look forward to these new worlds. About my future, well, I'm now working at Q Games as game designer and programmer. And the games I used to make were also made by myself as a programmer and game designer at the same time. I think it can be really powerful when you're able to to see the good design ideas, but also be able to implement them quickly. And I think that's something that Game Maker allowed me to learn. And I hope I can keep using this to keep making great games. And one game I'm going to show after this talk is a new game by Q Games, which we're working on right now. So that was about They Need to Be Fed. Are there any questions about the game, or about Game Maker, or about me? Yeah, over there.
What performance issues have you? Thank you. What performance issues have you run into with HTML5, specifically, swiping versus tapping, and multi-sound and multi-platform against Android and iOS?
What kind of performance issues have I had with HTML, with swiping and tapping with HTML5?
And also sound and the difference between the Chrome.
Okay, so you're talking about the mobile game?
Yes, on the mobile side.
Okay, the mobile game isn't working isn't made in HTML5, but in Game Maker. I think I'm not too technical on that side. I think that's really what the people at Yo-Yo Games have been working on. But it seemed to be, mostly collision detection that was a problem. But in general, these simpler 2D games all work really well, and the tapping and the touchscreen controls are no problem at all. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay.
Thank you. Great talk. Oh. Hello.
So that was the first talk. Now I'm going to do the second one. So the second one is about pixel junk monsters. Oh, sorry.
In terms of...
okay,
sorry. Good, we're going. With Game Maker, I know that in the last year or so, you guys have been moving towards a multi-platform distribution system. Yes. Currently, what platforms are actually built into the newest Game Maker platform?
Okay. So they're working on a version of Game Maker currently titled Game Maker Studio, which I think ports to iOS, Android, PSP, HTML5, and just Windows and Mac as well. And at the beginning of my talk, I showed this game Karoshi. It's actually out on iOS and Android and PSP as well. And so it's working pretty good. I think they're just really focused on the HTML5 for now, but it's going well as well. So I think later in the year we'll start seeing some interesting things going on there. Yeah. Okay, I'll move on with pixel junk monsters. So, do you have some water for me? Sorry. Do you have a glass of water for me?
No, go ahead. Glass of water. Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Okay, I need to take a little break here. So, who here has heard of pixel junk monsters? Okay, there's a couple people as well. So Pixel Junk Monsters is now coming to the browser. And we're going to have some new monsters in the game. All the old ones will be there, and some new ones as well. Going to be new towers. We have a new map system with virtually endless amount of stages. We'll be adding new content along the way. And it's made by Q Games. So before I go into the game, and I'll explain the game a little bit more as well, I'll talk about who we are at Q Games. So we're a traditional console game developer, founded in 2001, and we're located in Japan. We make downloadable games on the PlayStation 3 and have a game on PSP as well, and some games on DSiWare, and recently I made Star Fox 64 for 3DS. And the Pixel Junk series is our downloadable PS3 series. So we have a couple games, Racers, Eden, Shooter, and Pixel Junk Monsters. So these are all original titles, all very different, but all all have really focused and good gameplay. So Monsters is a unique tower defense game. Although it is a tower defense game, it doesn't look much like one, and it looks very, very cute. And you control this character you see on the bottom of the screen. It's very well balanced and pretty addictive, and it's loved by a wide range of people, and also we have a lot of females who like playing the game. And what's interesting is that we get a lot of mail as well from couples who like playing the game together. So when when the PlayStation Network was down, someone wrote this about Monsters. So according to this person, it's the best game created in the history of the universe. And we think he's pretty close to being right. So. But the good thing is, the next time PlayStation Network is down, it'll be playable in your browser, so you don't have to worry about that anymore. So I suppose everyone here is familiar with social network games and the benefits they have. So I won't go into detail too much here, but compared to what we've seen before on the PlayStation Network, there's a much wider demographic. And we can tune the game in real time. We don't have to release patches. Of course, it's free to play, and you can play anywhere. So with this concept of Pixel Junk Monsters, we went from a PS3 game to a web game. So there's a lot of design changes we had to make and consider, and we're still working on that. So some of these design considerations. Obviously, the screen size is much smaller. The controls will be different, moving from a controller to a mouse. And the way people play is also very different. And we want to do all this while preserving the feel of Monsters that we so love in the original Pixel Junk Monsters title on PS3. So here, in the top left, you see the browser window, which is really small compared to the 1080p window on the PS3. So stages are much smaller and much more bite-sized. And one thing we did is for people to allow to change the layout. So in Pixel Junk Monsters, you build in the PS3 version, there are trees which you turn into towers. And in our version, people can actually plant some of the trees themselves and kind of figure out what the best strategic layout is for the stage. Enemy paths are shorter as well. And we went with just one path in each stage, so it's much simpler and focused. And we had to move from the controller to the mouse. So I'm going to show the game later on, and you'll see kind of how it works with the mouse controls. An important part of Pixel Junk Monsters is the character. So different from other tower defense games, the PS3 version actually has a character which you control, and you have to walk somewhere and build a tower there, and you also have to walk around to collect coins. And one of the essential mechanics is the balance between upgrading your towers and collecting coins. So when you're playing the game, you have to always think about whether you're going to upgrade one of the towers or whether you're going to collect some of the coins that the monsters leave behind them. And we wanted to keep this mechanic in the game as well. So this is now mouse-based, and I'm going to show that in a couple minutes. Another thing is that we made the stages just much shorter in time as well, so there are less waves in each stage. Towers are upgraded faster, and there's not as much time to build up your strategy within the stages. So in the PS3 version, it's possible to research new towers while you're playing the game. And then when they're done researching, you can use this new powerful tower like later on in the stage. But there's no time for that in the social network version. So we're doing that on a meta level outside of the stages, where you can find new towers, buy new towers. So this shorter playtime means we need a lot more content. The PS3 version has this world map with a number of stages. It's kind of linear. There are some choices you can make, but it's pretty straightforward. And these are all just pretty big, like 20-minute long, well-balanced stages. But we're going to need to do it differently on the social network. So one idea we had is to make an infinite world map. So we just generate it, kind of similar to Minecraft, and have like all these stages and just have people play forever. And this was an interesting idea, but it doesn't really work. Yeah, so it would be based on a random seed, and players could explore the map forever. But we tried this idea, but basically there's not much of a direction, and it's not really dynamic. And we can put goals in the world map, but you can keep going forever. And so like when you can go anywhere, it kind of feels like you don't want to go anywhere really. So, and another thing is that it was difficult to add new content to the game. So if we have this huge endless map and we want to add new monsters or new teams to the game, we have to change part of the map that's already there, and people may have already played these stages, so it becomes kind of weird. So what we do is we break up the world into smaller bits. So we have these smaller islands. I'm going to talk about them from now on. So this is the current world map. You see one of the tiles highlighted here. And each of these tiles is actually a stage as well. So I guess there's something like 25, I don't know, quite a bunch of stages in this screenshot here. So every tile is kind of like a mini tower defense monsters level. And you can clear these tiles, and then trees start popping up, and then you get the ability to unlock the stages around that tile. And these tiles cost a resource, and we're using time as a resource here, similar to other social network titles, because we want to have people playing over longer amounts of times. So we don't want people to be able to clear a whole island in one sitting. So people can play bit by bit and compare their scores with their friends and interact and help each other. So yeah, you have this resource, and you get some back over time, and can slowly expand your world map. Some of the objects we have on the world map are a mountain, boss stages. There's a shop tile, treasure you can work towards too, and these ports let you go to new islands. And I'm going to explain these one by one for a little bit. So one other mechanic we have is the rainbows. So when you clear, like, for example, a 2x2 block of stages, a rainbow appears. You can also clear a 3x3 block, or even a 4x4 block, and you get bigger and bigger rainbows. And these rainbows give you special powers. For example, to crush mountains, and they become stages as well. And then when you clear them, they become these green mountains. There are treasures on the world map, so they are kind of a goal for the player, and you don't know what's inside, but you know it's something good. Boss stages that give you extra rewards, and you can use these ports to discover new islands as well. And then there are the shops where people can buy new towers, and here we'll be adding a lot of new towers over time as well, of course. So yeah, I'll try and show you a little bit of the game. So we have a resolution problem going on here. But, so this is the world map. Currently there's only one playable stage. This stage. This is really close up. So this is one of the levels with a simple path and the ability to place trees here as well. After placing the trees, you can press start and the monsters will start coming. Unfortunately, can't see too much of the UI right now. Okay, so I'm controlling this with the mouse. I can just click somewhere and the character will walk there. I can click on a tower. And actually, if I press and hold here, Tiki Man will start dancing and upgrade the tower. As you can see, the coins here I have to grab with the mouse as well. So this is where we have the mechanic mouse-based. So the mechanic of the balance between upgrading and collecting. So I have to use the mouse to collect these coins or to upgrade the tower. And of course the goal is to collect the little chibi characters here. Okay. I'm king of the stage. I have the highest score among my friends. And this allows you to unlock new stages here. Okay. So we think we have a pretty good and casual. Sorry. Oh, thank you. Sorry. So yeah, we think we have a good tower defense game, and it's now coming to the browser. So it's pretty exciting. And now it's time for questions. Anyone have a question? Yeah. Oh.
Okay.
Yeah. Is
Hey.
the game free to play, and if so, how are you planning to monetize it?
That's a very good question. So this kind of explains why we went to Casual Connect as well, because we want to learn about this stuff. And but I think we'll do a lot of internal testing with the game and kind of develop it as it goes and see what works best. And we've been getting some good ideas for how to monetize the game as well during this conference, and we're gonna go back to Japan and discuss this. And yeah, so right now I can't give you like a clear answer how we're gonna do this, but there's some other tower defense games as well on Facebook, and some other, yeah, there's a lot of examples we can look at. So.
Are you guys developing in Flash or what HTML5 or what's your target there?
This game is developed in Flash with ActionScript 3. Yeah.
Thank you.
And over there. And the last question.
Are you guys going to be using the cooperative that you featured on the PS3 in the browser-based Pixel Junk?
Yeah, we think there's some really interesting things possible on Facebook or other social networks. So we're definitely discussing that. Right now it's really focused on competitive game play. So this is working really well and was working well in the PS3 version as well. And it's really fun to retry the stages and like see how you can improve your strategy and get like a slightly higher score. So we've been testing it internally, and it's really fun to compete on the stages. But we're also looking into cooperative play as well.
Okay, great.
Okay, thank you
very much, Jesse.